People, My Hero Academia. Boy, it seems as though potentially the war is over after chapters 294 and 295, but especially the ending of 295 with everything going down of the nobles dragging Shigaraki away. And boy, has this war been something else between chapters 294 with Mr. Compress and everything he was trying to do for his comrades, but especially, again, I gotta keep harping on 295. Major stuff going down. Deku with the fourth one for all Quirk, Shigaraki, all for one taking control and showcasing just what he's trying to do in the background for the remainder of the series. And it seems as though potentially the word that went down at Jump Festa regarding what Koya Horikoshi said of the future of My Hero Academia, it potentially is the truth, and it potentially is going to be coming to a close real soon, at the very least. Again, the Academia portion, but All For One's words keep ringing off in my head like, yeah, hands down, we got a long way to go with this story in terms of overall the grand scheme of things, because All For One's not playing. All For One is going for the end game, and we potentially going to get an older version of all these characters when it's all said and done and the final battle down the road goes down. Because man, yeah, I think we got to talk a little bit about that My Hero Academia greatness. This arc has been hands down the best arc of the My Hero Academia story, and without further ado, people, let's talk about it.
I say we gonna do what we do, no matter how you move, make your move. That's how it be though.
Okay, so let's start off with 294. We're going to talk about it very brief. A lot of the chapter was centered around Mr. Compress, and to be honest with you, it was just pushing forward even more and more regarding the camaraderie between the League of Villain members and, you know, just that family bond and vibe that they put together throughout time and that they created, because Mr. Compress really goes all out to make sure that Shigaraki and them get away from, you know, this onslaught of what the heroes got going against them or whatnot. Like, he really went all out. We see that he gets unmasked in that one, which it wasn't like a big deal, which I don't think it was supposed to be a big deal anyway, but yeah, we get him unmasked. We get a little bit of the backstory of, I think it was his grandfather, if I'm not mistaken, that was like this master criminal and stuff like that. Oji Harima, if I'm not mistaken. So we get that there was a little bit. I'm not sure if that's going to carry on to anything moving forward or what's going to happen there, but we get a little bit of his backstory again with his family and whatnot, and him setting things up for the final escape for the remainder of the League of Villains. Like, yeah, it was a bit of an emotional side for, again, the League of Villains, which they're my favorite part of the story anyway. So seeing him setting things up and trying his damnedest to make sure they get away, and seeing them all bloody and stuff towards the end of 294, I was like, man, you know, to see the way the writing has been done in My Hero Academia, and that's one of the reasons why I've grown to love this story even more, of the way the villains feel like, in a way, the way they're written is as if you want to root for them so bad, because they're written as like, they're not necessarily the worst people in the world, or at the very least they have some, because yeah, they're pretty freaking bad, but they have some sort of thing about them, a tragic backstory. And it's just like, what if some of the characters that have tragic backstories, opposed to becoming good people and trying to do better, ended up falling into the pits of despair? And that's really what the League of Villains are. And just seeing, man, Mr. Compress did his thing. And again, it wasn't the biggest chapter in the world, but what we did get with that chapter and whatnot, I was like, okay, all right. But moving forward, 295, huge chapter, jumping from the gate with Deku waking up to hearing "wake up" in his head, and basically deducing the fact, because he gets like this stinging sensation in his head, and he figures out that, oh, it's probably one of the other quirks, which it seems as though at this point, what we got the one for all, you know, the strength quirk, we got the black whip, we got the float, and now we got the sense of danger, the fourth one for all users quirk that Deku seemingly is slowly learning at this particular point, because again, he got the float quirk, he got to train with the other three. This one just came to him right now, and he started sensing the danger. So right there, opening up a whole other can of worms. And again, if this is the ending, right, if 295 is truly the ending of this war, we're still gonna have 3 more quirks that Deku has to understand and train with, assuming if we get a time skip or whatever the heck's gonna come after this, because that's the 4th one now. And it's interesting because the way it went down, it kind of showcases like what we're really up against, right? If Deku is unlocking the quirk that allows him to sense danger, which essentially, if you think about it, kind of reminds me of, like, you know, Spider-Man with his Spidey sense. So maybe that's where the influence came from, of like, yo, my Spidey sense is tingling. I wonder if Deku's gonna have that, like, yo, my bitch ass crying sense is tingling right now. No shade toward Deku, it's just a funny joke. Relax, people, relax. But even in 295, once again, Mr. Compress putting in work, saying, yo, my final escape attempt is about to go down. And shout outs to Medio, because he's just like, yo, fuck all of that shit, just punches Mr. Compress in the face. Mr. Compress like, damn, yo, you don't even let me do my thing. What's going on here? But, yo, Medio, which I've seen a couple of complaints of people saying like, yo, why isn't Medio putting in more work? You know, he got his quirk back. This is supposed to be a big deal. What happened? And honestly, I think he's doing about what he could do. Like, don't get me wrong, you know, he's a strong dude and he's very methodical the way he uses his quirk or whatnot, but Medio is not like he has super strength or nothing like that, and he's fighting some pretty powerful foes. So yeah, him knocking Mr. Compress, that's exactly how it should go. Fighting against the Nomu though, Nomu are big, strong, monstrous beasts, and he just has like regular strength, just that he uses his quirk in a smart way that allows him to do things in a more swift manner. But it's not like Medio has like amazing strength to fight these creatures and monsters. That's why I had that discussion, I want to say a couple weeks ago now, of like, yo, what if Medio had One for All, how strong he would have been having that alongside his regular quirk and his, you know, just capabilities of how he maneuvers around. And we see that there's a large group, which this was all the big setup of how everything was going to go. There was a large group of Nomu that were gathering up, but Shigaraki, again being unconscious, couldn't utilize it. It's funny because if Shigaraki was able to withstand and continue to be conscious throughout all of this, I think things would have went a different way. In fact, I know things would have went a different way, because Shigaraki did not want to rev down. He wanted to keep on fighting to the bitter end. He wanted to make sure he wiped everyone out. So it was honestly only due to his body giving out and his comrades around him, in particular, again, like what Mr. Compress has been doing the past couple chapters, that things went the way they did. Because if not, honestly, I think they would have all been captured and would have been the end of My Hero Academia. It was his folly, so to speak, of just his body giving up, and again, him being busted out at 70-something%, being incomplete essentially, that things went this way again. Like, it would have been like just the end for the League of Villains and the end of the story. And maybe if My Hero Academia was not going to go on longer, which we're all suspecting at this point, there has to be a time skip, and what Horikoshi meant when he said at Jump Fest of 2021 the story is about to end is the Academia portion is about to end, but the worldwide hero situation of maybe a time skip or something is about to go down in the near future, because it was a straight up getaway scene for the League of Villains that Mr. Compress set up for them, because he's like, bam, I bought time for Shigaraki and Spinner to get away. I even used my quirk to put Dabi in the scarf, which I thought Dabi was, and maybe I just missed it because yeah, it was kind of like a mashup of the chapters that I read back to back, 294 and 295, but I thought Dabi was still going up against Shoto. Wasn't he like having a grand old time fighting Shoto? So maybe Dabi wasn't aware. I don't think Dabi wanted to leave either. I think Dabi and Shigaraki, if it was just them and Shigaraki didn't pass out or whatever, either they would have annihilated everybody or they would have been captured, because Dabi kind of was having a blast, you know, just destroying Endeavor's life and fighting Shoto right there as well, just like Shigaraki was. So it was Mr. Compress having the intuition to be like, no, we gotta get out of here. It's over for now. And I'll be honest with you, I was just kind of mixed on what I felt when we get a little bit more of the info, right? Because then Spinner starts thinking back to a conversation of what Shigaraki said. I want to give him a point that putting those hands of his family member on him, it gives him two different feelings. On one hand, he want to just puke everywhere. He feels horrible. But on the other hand, he feels a sense of being like calm and whatnot. So it was like a weird thing and whatnot, but that it ultimately brings out this rage at the very same time, which again, Shigaraki's one disturbed dude. I'll just say that or whatever. But him using that, and he's like, yo, this is the best way I'm going to be able to wake this dude up. We need to do something, because those hands again allow him to remember his rage or whatnot. So when he does that, I'm thinking, okay, boom, Shigaraki's about to awaken. It's about to be insane. We're about to get more of a battle, because I didn't know what to expect by the end of 295 or whatnot. But when it happens, when he puts the hands on his body and whatnot, and he's about to like start talking, get his eyes open or whatnot, seems as though at that particular point, All for One takes control of Shigaraki's body, because remember, his consciousness, now it seems as though there's a dual consciousness inside of Shigaraki's body. Think Jujutsu Kaisen, for example, of like Yuji and Sukuna being in one. It seems as though that's the case at this particular point with Shigaraki and All for One. There's two consciousness holding inside this body at this point. Again, I don't know when that happened. Was it because of the surgery? Did Maruta Shiga, the doctor, put that extra consciousness? Is that how? Or is it because of the quirks, putting All for One's quirks inside of Shigaraki's body, like we kind of discovered earlier, like, you know, a few chapters back when they were in the Vestige, that automatically the consciousness from those quirks of All for One gets transferred as well into Shigaraki, because Shigaraki, or All for One, whatever you want to call him at that particular point, readies to use the radio waves to like have the Nomu drag them away, and Spinner's like, yo, but what about Makia and Toga's out there? What are you doing? And he's like, yo, stop worrying about them. This is the price that Shigaraki has to pay for taking the L. and I'm just thinking like, wow, you know, I'm mixed on it, because a part of me was like, bam, Shigaraki's about to take consciousness, awesome shit. Even if they got away at that particular point, at least Shiggy took control of the situation and then bounced. The fact that All For One took over the situation at a given point, especially now in the end game, kind of has me feeling a certain way, just because I'm a massive Shigaraki fan and I was loving how he took control, and I get it that he's just so messed up and you got this extra consciousness that is taking control. But why was it that the hands being put on Shigaraki and the rage that he feels is what activates All For One taking over the body? And I mean, he described it a little bit as the more camaraderie he has and the strength of the heart that Shigaraki has with his comrades makes him be able to control the consciousness of this body more. But it just kind of felt a little bit, I don't want to say messy, but maybe it's not explained well enough, or we got to just see more time. Like, after all this happens, we got to see the next time Shigaraki has consciousness, if he even remembers that All For One is inside there and able to control things, or what's going on there, because then that's going to give us more of an idea of, okay, like, I'm imagining Shigaraki's still in that body. I'm imagining once he rests up and heals up a bit, he's going to be able to take control again. But how much influence and how much control is All For One going to have moving forward? And as the radio waves go down and the Nomu start to drag them away, Deku gives it one final shot. He tries to use, it looked like Black Whip, to stop them, and All For One was not having it. He pushed Deku off, and I'm just like, damn, you know, even Deku, like, honestly, he really embodied, and you just seen the growth tremendously throughout this war of like, yo, he's 100% ready to be a real hero. And again, I wouldn't be surprised after this war is over, after, again, time skip or whatever the heck's about to happen, if Deku truly gets embraced and they're like, yo, you're a real hero, that's it. Because everything that he's done in this one, again, even towards the bitter end, trying to stop things, still showcasing that he's a hero, especially the words that he says at the end of the chapter, but we'll get to that in a second. Because All For One says, when this body is perfected, Deku, we will meet again. And it's starting more and more to look like, unfortunately, as much as I loved what Shigaraki did with this war, it looks as though really the end game boss, which it's been there all along, maybe I didn't want to accept it, maybe it's just, I don't know, but it seems as though really the final bout, what has been promised since the beginning of the series, is truly going to be a Deku versus All For One type of situation. And it's not going to be Shigaraki, because it looks as though All For One, which his plan has started to showcase more and more that he's just trying to take over this body, like what he tells Deku right there, when this body is perfected, it'll be me and you, fam. You're gonna go one-on-one with the Great One. But I'm just like, I was loving Shigaraki's rage. No, don't cast that aside. Not to mention the fact that Shigaraki knows like what's going on to a certain degree with All For One. Like, we've seen already him kind of discuss it a bit, and he was telling him, like, he was rejecting it. He's like, no, the criminal, the villain, the carnage is all going to be me. It's going to come from me. I'm going to be the one that embodies this, not you. Like, cool beans, you helped get me to this point, but I don't give a shit. Get out of here. And then the ending, like what I was just talking about a few minutes ago regarding Deku being a true hero, when he says, yo, you've done some unforgivable things, Shigaraki, because of course he gets pushed off of the Nomu, which they kind of reminded me of like the Lion King. Remember when like Mufasa fell down and all the animals from the kingdom are running and shit, and that's how Mufasa dies or whatever? I don't know, them all running and Deku getting pushed off by Shigaraki, or again, All For One or whatnot, kind of gave me reminiscent vibes of that scene. But what Deku says there of like, yo, you've done unforgivable things, you've hurt people, killed people, all that jazz, but that moment that I saw you in the Vestige, that look on your face looked like you needed saving. And it was, again, reminiscent of like Bakugo, back when Deku saved Bakugo. Some of the first times we got to see Deku truly embrace what it means to be a hero, and it seems as though that could potentially be the vibe moving forward in all of this, that yeah, Shigaraki, bad news, bad guy, but he's kind of locked in this situation. He is a victim at the end of the day. You've seen everything. A lot of who he is today is through manipulation and brainwash from All For One, and it's going to be interesting to see their relationship moving forward. And with all that being said, honestly, it seems as though the villains have gotten away. Again, I've seen some controversy back and forth with the way things ended. The only aspect of all of this that I'm looking at it a little bit like, is the All For One kind of taking control of Shigaraki at the very end after the rage was induced from Spinner putting the hands on Shigaraki. I was expecting Shigaraki to awaken once more and kind of say something, but at the end of the day, in order for them to have gotten away, it would have had to have been something else, because Shigaraki was not going to want to get away. He would have not allowed the Nomu to drag him away. He would have kept on fighting. So something had to happen in order for them to get away, and I think that this was Horikoshi's best idea of like, okay, bam, nothing else is gonna get him to move. let's have All For One. But again, why it had to be the hands, that is a Shigaraki thing, to induce All For One coming out and being like, haha, this is my playground, motherfucker. And also the carnage of everything, not only, you know, everything that was showcased in 294 in the beginning of all the heroes that were hurt and whatnot. Seems as though Makia is potentially going to be captured and become a prisoner at this point, right? They got him roped up with Best Jeanist and whatnot, and a few others. Like, I'm not sure what's going to happen with Toga. I think, to be honest with you, this is going to be the start of a brand new type of story in terms of, I don't think Toga, considering again they left her, like, not only was she just disappointed by the heroes of what Uraraka tried to do, but then her comrades, the League of Villains, there's some of them are dead, and they betrayed her and they left her out for, you know, dead as well. So she might end up turning into a vigilante when all is said and done. Again, I think this is the end of the war. I think we're going into the next phase of this story, minus the Academia, My Hero Association, or whatever the heck they're gonna call it. But I'm very curious what you guys think. How do you feel about seemingly the ending of this war, the villains getting away? What do you take, and how do you feel? And if you want to give a long comment, short comment, whatever, regarding All For One taking over Shigaraki's body at that pivotal moment of the hands, that's, you know, Spinner taking the hands and putting it on. Do you think that this is going to be the case for the remainder of the story, of All For One totally utilizing Shigaraki's body? Is it going to be constant internal struggle of the both of them trying to use the body? Also, your thoughts on just where this story is going. I was thinking about it as I'm actually talking here, and we're on 295. I would not be surprised if in 5 chapters, chapter 300, the story is going to wrap up, and we're gonna again get either they're gonna rebrand the manga entirely or something there, because yeah, 300 is almost here, and it seems as though the war that we've been in is finally coming to a close, and boy, it's been insane. And your overall thoughts and expectations for the My Hero Academia story with chapter 296 and beyond. I want to say we'll get 296 probably at the start of 2021, but yo, My Hero Academia 2020 has been something else. It's been insane. This war has been crazy, and yeah, seems as though it's coming to a close. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life, boy! Have an awesome day. Peace in, and yo, My Hero Academia's war seemingly is ending here, and it's been crazy. It's been real.
It's nights like this, and times like this, that I can give another hit. But I've got this inside a switch, a natural